welcome you in this milestone event, which comes at a great occasion. An occasion where solar and renewable energy in general has proven that it can provide affordable energy accessible by all citizens during an unprecedented health crisis for our generation. This by also enhancing national energy security, demonstrating that renewable energy is the only autonomous energy generation option for most of the countries in the world. In this occasion, we at SolarPower Europe are excited to present you the new global market outlook, which will be explained in detail later today. This outlook shows a tremendous growth in new solar installations with a new annual record. In 2019, 48% of the new global net power plant capacity was solar, making it by far the dominant preference for investors. As I mentioned already, this is a crucial year for solar around the world. We have seen the impact of COVID-19 in our lives and our economies, and some initiatives need to be implemented in order to relaunch the economy. In the context of a post-outbreak Europe, the European Green Deal still provides an excellent framework for the reconstruction plan. It is crucial to advocate for accelerated renewables deployment, which includes new renewable energy capacity, the repowering and refurbishing of existing renewable projects, and the decommissioning of coal plants. Depending on the priorities of the recovery package, we can return to an impressive growth for solar over the next 5 years. This is a favorable time to invest in technologies of the future, which will ensure that we meet the energy and climate targets. Today, solar power is delivering low-cost and reliable energy to millions of households and businesses around the world. And it is imperative that we keep up this momentum as the world slowly recovers from the COVID-19 outbreak by ensuring solar is acknowledged in the new stimulus packages. But it is also the time for governments to show commitment to a sustainable rebuilding of the economy by solving the current bottlenecks, such as permitting and regulatory barriers. European governments need to implement the right policies to turn investments from a concept to a reality. Otherwise, national targets will have a low importance. Permitting processes are currently a clear bottleneck for increased deployment, hampering solar development in spite of a general enthusiasm for our technology. SolarPower Europe, together with 7 other trade associations, sent a letter to the European Commission urging for concrete actions to resolve permitting bottlenecks for renewables. The letter delivers a clear message from EU renewable industries. Restarting Europe's economy after COVID and delivering on the climate and energy targets will not be achievable without an appropriate and simplified framework for permitting. It's obvious that without bottlenecks, solar has a huge potential worldwide. Low cost and versatility of solar technology has accommodated its rapid expansion in new markets which embrace the technology. In 2019, 16 countries added over 1 gigawatt, in comparison to 11 in 2018 and 9 in 2017, showing how the diversification of solar sector is spreading around the world and is creating new energy and employment opportunities. It is good to see how new markets strongly commit to the solar future. For example, Vietnam is emerging as a solar superstar, adding 6.5 gigawatts in 2019, a 6,400% increase from the 97 megawatts added in 2018. These are very encouraging developments, paving the way for the solar decade ahead of us. But it is also important to see what will be the situation tomorrow if we make the right decisions today. As you probably know, SolarPower Europe and Lund University recently launched a new report that models a 100% renewable scenario for Europe to reach climate neutrality before 2050. In this report, it is demonstrated that solar will have the largest power generation shares in the future in all scenarios. The study is the first of its kind to model a fully renewable pathway to achieve climate neutrality for the European energy system, presenting 3 transition pathways with varying levels of ambition. The key finding of the report is that the 100% renewable energy system is primarily a solar story. In both of the model, the 100% renewable scenarios, solar generates more than 60% of European Union's electricity by 2050. Another important topic to consider is about the strategic sector, which currently sees Europe trail behind other global competitors. The manufacturing of solar PV. Our innovative know-how may give European manufacturers the edge in the long run, provided that the industrialization process is fast-tracked by consistent policies. In this context, the European Union should take the opportunity to bring the backbone of this industry within the European borders. This is crucial for the recovery of jobs and will need policy support and new investments. But in order to meet climate targets, deployment of new projects is needed much faster than expected. That is why governments need to focus on the sustainable future of our children and resolve the barriers today. Thank you very much for joining our event, and I hope you will enjoy it. I would like to pass the speech to Markus, which I hope that resolved the technological troubles. And thank you very much again.
Okay, so thank you very much, Aristotelis, for jumping in, and I hope that we solved now the technical issues on our end. So I would like once again to welcome everybody around the world to this conference. It has been a tradition for many years now that SolarPower Europe has launched its Global Market Outlook report as part of the Intersolar Europe conference in Munich in Germany. The Global Market Outlook for Solar Power is a flagship publication of SolarPower Europe. It is produced in-house by SolarPower Europe's market intelligence team and with the support of many national associations and corporate members of SolarPower Europe. And Intersolar proudly supports this report since many years now. And the Intersolar Europe conference would have started today in Munich, in response to the rising number of COVID-19 infections worldwide and the containment measures introduced as a result, we were forced to cancel Intersolar Europe for the first time in almost 30 years in 2020. It will be held again in June 2021. In the meantime, we are offering a variety of additional digital formats such as online conferences, webinars, podcasts, innovation days, or virtual award ceremonies, which we will start in a few weeks. Please check our website at smartere.com for more details. Today we are launching SolarPower Europe's Global Market Outlook. And until today, more than 1,000 participants registered for this Global Market Outlook launch conference. This conference will provide an update on the latest solar developments and 5-year market forecasts. After the presentation of the GMO findings, high-profile panels will discuss the market developments and COVID-19 impacts. We have invited executives of the leading solar market industry associations to give first-hand insights and discuss with the audience their views on the solar demand in their countries. I would like to encourage you to use the opportunities to interact with the speakers and other attendees. You're welcome to ask any question you may have to our experts either during the session or afterwards. If you have any technical issues, our team is here to support you. I would also like to use this opportunity to thank SolarPower Europe, the SolarPower Europe team, for jointly organizing this conference with Intersolar Europe. Let me also thank the speakers and the supporters of this conference, and for sure also the exhibitors, which you can visit if you go to the expo, if you tap the expo button. I wish you all a successful and fruitful event, and thank you very much for your attention. So now my task to introduce Aristotelis was done by himself, and it's now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. And this is Dietrich Sampson, the head of cabinet of Frans Timmermans. The European Green Deal is the European Union's roadmap for a sustainable EU economy. It aims to ensure that the climate and environmental challenges are successfully addressed across all policy areas. The big question is, how green will it be in the end, and what role does solar energy specifically play in this Green Deal? Dietrich Sampson, our speaker of today, is the head of cabinet of Frans Timmermans, the executive vice president of the European Commission, and he will share the Commission's plans for a green and sustainable Europe. Dietrich Sampson is responsible for strategy management and coordination of the cabinet of Frans Timmermans, who leads the Commission's work on the European Green Deal and its first European climate law to enshrine the 2050 climate neutrality target into EU law. Unfortunately, Dietrich Sampson cannot attend personally, but he will share his views via a video message, which we will now play for you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Executive Vice President Timmermans personally asked me to convey to you his regrets for not being able to address you directly. As you
Dear ladies and gentlemen,
these days his agenda is even busier than what is usually the case. What a difference a few months can make. Just 6 months ago, the European Commission launched the European Green Deal as its very first initiative under the new college. The European Green Deal is a transformative agenda, combining policies and measures to tackle climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, and to reduce material use by moving to a more circular economy. The European Green Deal is Europe's new growth strategy. It gives, therefore, a clear direction to investors, to inventors, to our entrepreneurs. The European Green Deal is a concrete work program for the future to be hardwired into EU long-term developments through the climate law, for instance. The Commission proposed that climate law at the beginning of the year. And ambitious like never before, comprehensive like never before, supported strongly by a wide alliance of citizens and businesses, the European Green Deal set out to chart a new course for our union. And that was 6 months ago. And here we are, in the midst of an unprecedented crisis with huge and largely unknown consequences. Priorities had to change abruptly. The overriding concern rightly became doing what we could to respond to the immediate dangers the virus posed, for the health of our citizens first, and that of our economy soon after. There's no denying, spoken or unspoken, that doubts soon started to hang over the future of the European Green Deal. Was this going to be a fair weather agenda, no longer affordable at the time of COVID-19? A list of bygone priorities? A catalogue of wishes from wealthier days that our citizens and businesses would no longer support? The questions were real, and the COVID crisis inevitably threw us off course. But when this happens, one can either circle back to the old route or power on, turning the involuntary detour into a shortcut. And again, if you allow me to reframe, what a difference a few months make. For here we are today, just 2 weeks after the approval of the Commission proposal for a recovery package, looking with satisfaction at the way those questions were answered and those doubts dispelled. The political answer is loud and clear. We do need to address the immediate needs of our societies and economies. And this includes keeping companies afloat and supporting employment, making up for the investment foregone, and helping member states meeting today's funding challenge. But in doing this, we have forcefully and unambiguously set the direction, not backward, but forward. We will not simply rebuild our economy as it was. We will not miss an historic opportunity like we did after the financial crisis. The European Green Deal, therefore, remains Europe's growth strategy. And this should not come as a surprise, since our responsibility to avert and anticipate the existential threat of climate change is as big after COVID as it was before. Possibly it's even bigger, for if we borrow from our future generations, we have a moral imperative to deliver to them a future they can live in. And this can only mean putting our economy firmly on the path of a sustainability and climate neutrality. The economic answer is equally loud and clear. As we are in the midst of an unprecedented crisis, we need to mobilize an unprecedented amount of resources in unprecedented ways. A new 750 billion euro recovery instrument called Next Generation EU that will mix loans and grants, and that, together with a revamped long-term EU budget, will put 1.85 trillion euros to help kickstart our economy and ensure Europe not only bounces back, but actually goes forward. Through the recovery, we will press fast forward on the twin green and digital transitions. Next Generation EU will drive our competitive sustainability. Public investments in the recovery will have to respect the green oath of do no harm. We will provide the long-term predictability and the supporting regulatory environment needed to unlock private investments. So what does this all mean for you? I believe Dietrich Jurgensen, the Director General for DG Ener, will speak later and will provide obviously greater details about all of the above. But let me make a few overarching points. First, we are aware of the damage the crisis has done and is doing to you. While we know and thank the energy sector for being resilient during the crisis with no disruptions in supply, for instance, we also know that investment rollout has been put on hold. Some member states' auctions have been delayed, and the European solar market may be down by 20% this year. To say that this is a shock for what has been one of the fastest growing industries in the world is an understatement. And so would it be to say this poses a challenge in view of the massive increase in renewable energy production that Europe needs to meet its climate target. We know how temporary negative influences can lead to long-term balance sheet damage. And that is why our support package aims at repairing those balance sheets as a necessary step to prepare for the future. Second, we know that the international challenges the European PV industry was facing before COVID did not get any easier now. But witnessing the importance of resilient value chains during the lockdowns has only strengthened our resolve to support your industry. And therefore, our recovery proposal has scaled up resources for research and innovation in climate-related domains under Horizon. And our innovation fund will provide approximately 10 billion until 2030 for investment in breakthrough low-carbon technologies in the power and industry sectors. Large-scale demonstration projects producing energy from renewable energy sources or for manufacturing of components for renewable energy production will be eligible to apply for this funding. And the first call for proposals will already be launched this summer for an amount of 1 billion. And third, we intend to take advantage of the firepower of that next generation EU package to back a limited number of flagships that offer the best prospects in terms of supporting the recovery, while also advancing our preparations for the future. For instance, the solar industry has a clear role to play in our renovation wave, fostering higher investments in buildings, energy efficiency, and the use of renewables. Or in our strategy to develop hydrogen, offering the prospects of a clean carrier for the renewable energy produced, for instance, in solar power plants within and also outside of Europe. I know the outlook you will discuss today is much gloomier than it was expected when preparations for this conference began. And I know these are extremely challenging times for everyone, and they will remain so for quite some time. Providing now what I think are the right answers is crucial, but does not in itself make our problems immediately disappear. I am, however, confident that we will make it through, and I'm very confident your industry will once again show us how renewables are the source of energy of the future. The sun is now far from shining, but the horizon is turning brighter, and getting the most out of every ray of sunlight is, after all, what you are good at.
So that was a very interesting message from Dietrich Sampson. Thanks for being part of this conference. And now it's almost time to launch the Global Market Outlook Report 2020 to 2024 and to answer the question, what is to expect from solar as the lowest cost power generation technology at the start of a new decade? It is my pleasure to announce Michael Schmäler, Executive Advisor at SolarPower Europe. He will speak to you after a short break of around about 5 minutes here on this stage. So see you again in 5 minutes. Thank you very much.